Today's conversation is sponsored by First Generation Capital Partners. If you're an accredited investor and you want to know about how we're helping other accredited investors keep more of their income, go to firstgencp.com/going long.
If there's any issues that occur with your tax return, you are just as liable as the person preparing. You can't just say, like, this person prepared it, like, they should have known, like, IRS, like, you signed it.
You're listening to the Going Long podcast with Billy Keels, the #1 podcast for long-distance real asset investing.
Welcome to the Going Long podcast. We're back once again to continue to help to educate you so you feel much more comfortable as well as confident investing beyond your backyard. And yes, I'm your host, Billy Keels, and I am really excited for you to listen in and take in today's conversation because it's absolutely awesome. We're talking about one of the subjects that's, well, every day closer and closer to my heart. You're going to find out what that is in just a second, but trust me, when you invest your time listening and watching today's conversation, you're really going to be able to walk away with a number of actionable items that you can use for your life to get closer to your goals much faster. And also, a lot of you have been sharing on social media. We really appreciate that. The screenshots and sharing. Don't forget to tag us, by the way. Sometimes I get these things and I get them later on. Tags us. Make sure that we know that you are, in fact, tagging and not just sent to us later. So if you're sharing on social media, we really appreciate that. Also, too, if you are open to leaving an honest written review as well as a rating on the Apple Podcast platform, Spotify, this really helps us to also reach to more people. And listen, secondly, if you've been looking to get or watch any of the past episodes, you can check every single episode out. Just go to firstgencp.com/podcasts. Catch every episode. We've got a lot of awesome guest interviews as well as solo episodes at this point in time. And listen, it's going to add a lot of value to you. But getting into today's conversation, if you want to understand why having a tax and accounting professional on your team is something that can give you a competitive edge or allow you to get to your goals much faster, you're really going to want to listen to today's conversation or watch it with Larry Pendleton, CPA, because we're going to get to that just after this. Are you a busy, high-paid professional? Someone that in the previous 2 years has earned $200,000 and is expected to earn $200,000 this year? Or maybe if you filed jointly, previously you've earned $300,000 the previous 2 years and you're also expected to do that this year. Or maybe if not, either individually or jointly, you have $1 million in net worth, not including your primary residence. If you meet any of these criteria, then you're someone that the IRS considers to be an accredited investor. That probably means you're someone like an enterprise software sales executive. You may be an executive in a major corporation. You may be a doctor. You may be a lawyer, maybe a high-paid consultant. You may even work for a major sports franchise. The thing I know you have in common is that you continue to do the hard work. Like you're doing 100% of the work and you're only bringing home 50% of the reward because you continue to get crushed by your income taxes. If you are tired of this situation and you're looking for a new solution, then go to firstgencp.com/going long. When you get there, that's going to help you to start the journey so that you can begin to take back control of your taxes, take control of your time. And then also that means you're going to be able to spend more of the time that you want with the people that you love the most. And that is the way that you're going to get the personal freedom that you're looking for. So if you're looking to take back control, go ahead and go to firstgencp.com/going long and see how we can help you today. So you know what? If you want to understand the importance of having a tax and accounting service professional on your long distance investing team to ensure your long distance investing success, then guess what? Today's the conversation that you're going to want to listen to until the very last word. You know why? Check this out, because today's guest not only held various positions in the accounting in the internal audit space, I'm sure he's going to tell us a little bit more about that. He's also held a very key role in a company that was publicly traded on the London Stock Exchange. Wow, that sounds really cool. International, that's music to my ears. He also has a passion for adding value to others by sharing his expertise in the tax and accounting services space. And it gives me great pleasure to welcome to today's conversation the senior partner at PC Financial Services, LLC, none other than Mr. Larry Pendleton. Larry, welcome to the show, man.
Appreciate it, Billy. I'm not sure if I'm dressed appropriate enough for that type of intro. But
Come on, man. Of course you are. Of course you are. You're the man that's got the expertise. This is going to be absolutely fantastic. I cannot wait for today's conversation. It's going to be absolutely awesome, man. Absolutely awesome. So listen, Larry, you know, you're going to get 5 questions, man. You're going to get at least 5 questions. You're going to get 2 in the beginning. You're going to get 3 in the end. And in the middle, you're actually going to get a lot of questions. I just don't know what those questions are yet. So here's the thing, Larry. I want to jump right into the conversation and get you started out with question number 1. Help us understand, me and the Go Along family, where exactly is it that you call home in the U.S.?
I am based out of Norfolk, Virginia, as we say Norfolk in this area. It's southeastern Virginia, close to Virginia Beach, Hampton Roads, for those that happen to be familiar with the southeast region of the state of Virginia.
All right, fantastic. Norfolk. I think, did I get that right? Was it more or less?
Yeah,
somewhere? Okay,
yeah.
all right. You somewhat adopt me. Okay, that's cool. It's all good. So appreciate that. Question number 2, Larry, help us understand, what is the most positive thing that's happened to you in the last 24 hours?
To be completely honest, me and my wife, Whitney, we had a bit of a vulnerability moment last night, and it was been stuff that's kind of building up, and just one of the things of being in a long-term marriage and all of that, and growing and building with somebody with kids. And we just had a great conversation last night about just things we just felt insecure about, the difficulties of everything that we got going on, like I said, with the business and the family and personal life and all of that. So it was good. It reaffirmed a lot of things for both of us. I mean, it reaffirmed why I married her in the first place, just having a life partner to kind of hold on to from that perspective there, and just know that she has someone that she can lean on as well as me. Because I don't care who you are, life is not easy at all, and to go through it by yourself can be challenging. So it's good to have the right people around you.
So, Larry, I just want to also recognize and thank you for your vulnerability, sharing that with me and the entire Going Long family today, because a lot of times we're looking for these things that are like super amazingly, unbelievable that happen to us. And they can be just as simple as a conversation with a loved one, with a friend, just to reaffirm the strength in a relationship that you have. Because, and I tend to agree with you that things, even though they look simple, are not necessarily easy. And knowing that you have someone that you can speak to, confide in, share with, that's something that's really, really, you're fortunate to have that, and appreciate you recognizing that and sharing it with us this morning. So, but yeah, I asked you the first 2 questions, Larry, but here's the thing. And I know we've maybe spoken once or twice before, and I've seen you all over the internet and stuff like that, which is cool. And everybody's going to get to know you today. But I tend to have hold the bar really, really high, and it makes me sometimes do things that are really impossible to do. But I try to strive for, somewhat would say, perfection, because I'm a recovering perfectionist, by the way. And I do things that are really ridiculous, like trying to tell your entire backstory in 1.5 seconds. That's not even possible, because you've done way too much. You've impacted way too many lives. So I'm going to ask you for your help right off the bat, and that I would love for you to tell me and the Going Long family your backstory, sharing it in your words, and you can take a lot longer than 1.5 seconds. You can take the amount of time that you need to share your story. And also, Larry, when you're sharing your story, if you could do us a favor and also help us understand some of the major decisions that you've made to get to this point in your journey, and then we'll see where you and I take the conversation from there.
No, that's a really good point. And really, the beginning of where I'm at today and PC Financials and the real estate stuff that we're doing kind of streamed all the way back to just growing up with my dad. He's a HVAC mechanic, had his own business, been running his business for 30 years now. And growing up, man, it was just me and him, just kind of seeing how much time he kind of put into it. And I didn't know accounting at the age of 10 or anything like that. I like numbers, I like doing math, and as most people, I like counting money as well. But to see him and just to be work his ass off all that time, and then April 15th comes along and he has all these taxes due, and between that and his football team, he's always cursing one of the others, either government or his football team. So that kind of just stuck with me, and was how can I help? Other than just help, I used to go out there with him, over the summer. I ain't go to summer school. Was going out in the field with him. him in 100-degree weather. But I really didn't understand how I can be of value to him and help him out until high school. And the reason I even got into accounting was through a crush on the high school teacher that obviously didn't work out. It worked out well for both of us, but I wouldn't have like been in that class if it wasn't for that teacher. And I won't say her name for the sake of protection. but it clicked for me because it drew in. Like I enjoyed math. I enjoyed kind of the puzzle aspect of taking someone's situation and then, okay, how do you explain their history and potentially their future, and then come to learn that, I mean, accounting is really the language of business from that standpoint. Because if you don't know your accounting, like, you don't really know how well your business is or is not doing. And then starting to like, hey, actually that being the reason why I went to college. Like I played football in college, in high school and college, but that was all just transactional for the point of I didn't want my dad to pay for school, and I wanted a good accounting degree from a school called William Mary here in Southeastern Virginia as well. So just kind of grew in that aspect to it. Went into public accounting, cut my teeth into the audit and the tax world as well. But I really didn't see the benefit of, like I said, I saw the benefit of helping bigger companies, but I wanted to get more into the self-employed individuals, like helping W-2 employees. But then and from doing all of that and joining companies like Ferguson, who's owned by Wolseley, which is the international aspect to it, come to kind of find like my mission and my purpose in life was kind of bigger than just helping my dad. It was like, hey, this is an issue that a lot of people are having, because you come out, you get your CPA degree, everyone wants to come to you. It's like, okay, a lot of people are having this income tax credit. I'm having this income and tax credit issue as well. And my mission in life is really, at that point, roughly coming across that 6 years ago now, was like to help people achieve financial freedom through real estate investing and tax planning. And the reason why the real estate aspect of it, because through my public accounting days, I see people, high W-2 earners, and then I seen high income earners in the real estate field. And it was like, and I see them make the same amount of money, but one side, obviously the W-2 side, is paying way more in taxes. And I'm pretty sure a lot of your listeners, heard about Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, but it's really so forth with his other book, with the cash flow quadrant, where you had the employee, self-employed, big business, and an investor. So I kind of twisted that and kind of learned, okay, there's actually a tax implications to that as well, where like he goes into it, but in details, like, okay, people who are self-employed or employees are taxed the most, because not just in the U.S. but in most countries, the tax code itself is really created for your large business owners and investors. And now I kind of take that and I educate people on it. It's like, why is that? Well, it's like your job is benefiting you by paying you this money. The company itself is benefiting the country as a whole by providing jobs. Investors like providing housing, food, water. Those are taking risks for the benefit of the country as a whole. And people would I don't want to get into the whole political aspect of it, but that's just how it always been. Way before I was like, I didn't create this stuff at all. Right. I'm only 38 years old at the time of this recording. So it's like, this has been gone way longer than I've been alive. Mm-hmm. So it's like, so if that's the rules of the game, then I can take these rules and then now how do I coach, like, not just my dad and people in similar situations, but others as well, as like, how do you position yourselves to benefit from the rules of the game? Because if it's as simple as just everyone that's paid taxes on the income that they make, the tax code will probably only be 10 pages long. Like, you make this much, you get taxed on this. It's not like, only the reason why it's over 10,000 pages, if not more, is because it's all these incentives, deductions, credits. There's stuff in there for W-2 employees, no matter how much you make, but majority of it is just amendments and all that to how to incentivize investors and big business owners to keep doing what they're doing and to keep expanding into doing what they're doing. And you go from there. So that's how we got today, where I said I had a mentor that told me, like, you're investing yourself. Why don't you just work with other real estate investors and provide tax opportunities for them? Like, makes all the sense in the world. But like I say, if I have opportunity to help people outside of real estate, because it all kind of tends to run the same, and just benefit and then just educate people from that standpoint. So that's my background into a long way how we got to this Zoom meeting today.
Yeah. So, you know what? And there's so many different things that you talked about, which are key to, you know, how you're serving people today, Larry. And it starts from, you know, watching your dad from, you know, as he had an HVAC company, and you were starting to recognize, like, hang on a second, you want to be able to eventually help him. So it wasn't about just how do you work more hours, not necessarily working harder. It's about how can you also help him to work smarter at the genesis of it all, right? And then, of course, you went to college, you did a number of different things. But there was something that you said, and it made me think of this. So I posted the other day on LinkedIn, and there was this video, and it was talking about exactly what you talked about. So I want you to drill into it a little bit more, please. But I grew up not having money, so I never liked talking about it because, you know, my parents worked harder and all that kind of stuff. But eventually, I started realizing that, hang on a second, this is a game. Like, it's a game, and it's literally the game. And so you have to learn the rules of the game. And so I posted this thing. There was this video of a pretty popular 10X guy on my LinkedIn page, and he was talking about the game and don't hate the player, hate the game, right? And you talked about it a little bit. It's about understanding the game. And a lot of people don't necessarily like numbers, and they think the accounting is just numbers. And largely it is. But maybe you could talk to us a little bit about that aspect of the game, because I probably needed to hear that 4,000 or 5,000 times before I finally understood it. And maybe today someone is listening for the 5th time to hear this. But what do you mean when you talk about it's a game and you need to understand the game? Maybe you can talk to us some of the rules of the game.
So from just the general basis of accounting when it comes to the business, like before we start factoring in like the tax incentives and all of that, where people just kind of see, cause I also do like business consulting as well. Like people just like, I'm of course the accounting consultant, but I tell people, like, I can't consult on the numbers of your business if I don't know your business. And that's the qualitative factors of it. Mm-hmm. So when I say a game, I'm talking in the sense of just the puzzle pieces of the game. Like I have to piece your picture together to better consult, to better understand. Because if I was dealing with one lady, she makes wedding dresses. So it was like, okay, how do you get into that? Now let's talk about, okay, what does what is the cost? Like, what is that cost aspect to it to actually make a dress? And don't just tell me the numbers of how much the material costs, but what's your time as well? Because once I can break down, I can take wherever you say how much you're going to charge, and then how much all this stuff is going to cost, and utilities and all of that. But then this is your net income here. Based off your time spent of making this one wedding dress, was that worth your time? Mm. So if you don't understand that puzzle piece of that the game is like really for me figuring out where's the value for you. Like that's the game. Like that's the end goal of the game. Like, is this valuable to your time? Because no matter what your cash flow is, return on investment, if your time is if you don't feel like the value is there for your time, you're not going to keep this thing up much longer.
Yeah, I love how you talk about that, because it is a qualitative aspect, which is time, right? But also time it's very finite. So it's quantitatively, you can look at it and know exactly how much time you're investing in something. And it's amazing how frequently someone can be investing their time in searching for an outcome, and they never factor that into the calculation, right? It's amazing, and I'm sure you see that a lot more than I do. But so it's great to hear that understanding. It's not just about debits and credits. It's also about understanding what is a specific person doing, because based on what they're doing, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Larry, what they're doing, that can also affect the way that ultimately their taxes could potentially work, right?
Yeah, you go into the taxes, you go into the lending. It's like, hey, you gotta show this. Like, can you prove to a lender can you make this amount of money? Okay, the lender's going to be great. You making this money. Like, now the flip side of that, like, if you are going to make that type of money, here is what your potential tax hit is going to be. So the game itself is rather unique. Where, like, I know we're here talking about taxes, but that's one piece of the game where it's like, okay, you're trying to probably get lending involved. You want to make sure you're making enough and all of that. And then can you pay yourself from all this? So you're taking all these different components that don't seem to be interrelated to one another, but to you, the individual, they are. Because if you don't have your numbers together, you may not be able to get the financing. And if you want to get the financing together, then you're going to be taxed a certain way because you're showing that you're making a certain amount of money from it there. So, like, is your entity structure set up in a way where, because most likely companies are less are taxed not as heavily as the individual. Once the individual, like, the governments are mainly only they're tax like corporations, C corps, and all that, but most likely not. They're getting most of their tax revenue, income tax revenue, I should say, from individuals. Because companies themselves, they pay real estate tax, they pay payroll taxes, and all that stuff there. And depending on how you're set, you may be paying income tax as well. But if you're not aware of how these other components is going to affect your overall tax liability, then you're going to be left with huge tax bills that doesn't really equate to the amount of income that you're getting taxed 30+% of your income on every year from that standpoint. So it's understanding all these other factors and what you're trying to accomplish as a goal. I go from a personal example. Because early in my real estate career, like I made a lot of mistakes, like trying to go very like debt heavy, buy stuff, but I saw the goal at the end of it, where it's like, okay, cool, these things gonna start cash flowing. We got through COVID, unfortunately, and all that stuff there, but now we're using a lot of income that's coming in to wipe out the debt. Now, that's great to that perspective, but I know that I'm gonna have this huge tax hit because that's income that I'm not able to put into expenses, other investments. But I'm fully aware of that. I much rather remove that debt than to have a low tax bill. And like I said, we'll find investments and all of that. We're always strategizing opportunities that come up. We'll play offense and defense and special teams in order to generate more income and pay less in taxes. But I wanted to be aggressive with the non-mortgage debt pay down of certain things, of just kind of, I won't say it's a mistake, it's just learning experience from them. But like, that's kind of just personally speaking from the strategy that I wanted to accomplish for me. And each individual have to go through that same assessment. And that means having tough conversations with yourself, yes, with your partners, of course, with your partners, and then any other advisor that you have on your team.
Trusting that you're enjoying today's conversation. And you know what? If you're tired of getting crushed by taxes and you're looking for greater freedom to be able to choose what you want to do when you want to do it, make sure that you go to firstgencp.com/going-long and see how we can help you today. Let's get back to the conversation. And this goes back to the point, right? Which is the last thing that you're talking about here, which is going back to the different advisors on your team. And it comes to a point that, as a Going Long family, just recognizing that we started talking about just a potential type of tax, but then we started also talking about some aspects of asset protection. Although the way that a revenue flows through a company, we're now talking about the different aspects of maybe membership ownership. You're talking about distributions. And so what this means, right, as you're explaining these things, sometimes we want it to feel very simple, but it's not necessarily easy, which is also why it's important to have a professional that understands both the tax as well as the accounting, because ultimately at the end of the day, this is about not just how much you make, but how much you keep, which is at the end of the day, which is the really important part of this whole thing. So you also talked about one thing. I just want to get your perspective on this, Larry. because sometimes we think about from a tax professional standpoint, and especially when you're getting started, maybe once you've had a number of years or you've been in this a decade or so, you know that you understand the value of having the member on your team. But many times when you're starting in real estate, you're like, I just want to find the tax professional that's going to be the cheapest one, right? It's going to cheapest one for me to file my taxes. Help us understand the difference between someone who is filing your taxes and someone who is helping you with your tax planning, and why that individual or that team can be a real benefit to your team. Because I see this a lot with investors who are just getting into the quote unquote alternative space. But maybe you could break that down for us, so someone should know when it's time to level up for their tax and accounting professional.
Yeah, I mean, now most people go with TurboTax and whatever tax software they do on their own, which is fine. Like I said, I don't have any issues with any of those companies. But it's like, okay, if you're at a point where like you don't feel comfortable with filing your taxes, okay, then you can go to a tax preparer, and you can go cheaper. Like I said, but at the end, I know it's cliche, you get what you pay for, but you also have to remember that if there's any issues that occur with your tax return, you are just as liable as the person preparing. You can't just say like, this person prepared it, like they should have known, like IRS, like you signed it. Like if like whoever signed that tax return, everyone's responsible for that tax return. So even if you're going with just a preparer, which is fine if you just got one property that really isn't doing much and it's like, okay, or you may be limited to what things you can do or cannot do, but you at least want to be able to be informed of like why things are moving a certain way, why things are or why did you go from getting a refund one year to having to I mean, of course, everybody wants to know then. Nobody wants to ask questions when they go from owing to getting a refund, but you will want to understand that and know so that you aren't blindsided if you ever hit with any government letters or anything, and this for any country that you're happening to be in. So it's fine going that route. It's just, are you informed or like from that standpoint? Especially like say if you're uncomfortable doing it yourself. Now as you're growing, it's kind of, and I forgot who said it, and I'm paraphrasing, but it's like, hey, now are you working in your business or working on your business? Now the whole taxes and accounting, like that's more in your business. Like, are you able to grow and expand your business if you're having to do these things and then you're basically kicking those things down the road, procrastinating on those? And it's a good book by Dan Sullivan called Who Not How, where like he calls procrastination as a strength. Is your mind telling you that like you need someone else involved with this? Yeah. Like the reason why you're waiting so late to get this stuff done is because you don't really want to do it. Yeah. Like you want someone to come in and like take it off your plate, but like who's supposed to know if you're not, if you don't open your mouth? The closed mouth don't get fed at that point. So it's then starting to, okay, now you got the preparer, you got it done. Now you don't feel as if you're getting all the tax deductions or tax credits that you heard about that you can possibly get. Can your person explain that to you? If not, then you want to get more with a tax advisor who can like, hey, explain to you what's going on with your taxes. And then work with you on things you need to be implementing going forward in order to get actual tax savings from that standpoint. So, and they may even recommend you getting a bookkeeper, because a lot of tax advisors, including myself, like we don't do bookkeeping. Like there's different tiers and levels to this, and I've worked with a lot of great CPAs who only specialize in just bookkeeping and being a CFO for someone's company, and they'll like bring me in for the tax advisory side of things. And I tell you, you're not going to Walmart this. You're not going to go one-stop shop. And if you do, you're going to be working with a very large company and you're going to be paying a lot. It's like, okay, if you can get it, but it's like you're going to have to work with those type of companies. And if you're trying to slowly build up and watch costs, and it's like it gets pricey, but good tax and accounting advice is expensive, but bad tax and bad bookkeeping of advisory could be costly for you.
I like that. If one is expensive, the other is costly. Actually, when I look at it, and to your point, you may have different people on your team. For instance, we have one company that's a bookkeeper, and we have another that is the CFO. And we have someone else that's doing the tax strategy and planning. And so, being able to orchestrate these teams and bring them together is actually what will allow you to focus on the operations of your business, which at the end of the day are the things that should be providing you the competitive leg up or being able to get in front of your clients and provide the value that you are looking to provide them with. So I appreciate you diving into that and just helping us understand a little bit more about the different areas within the tax either planning, preparation, or filing. But one of the other things that I have to ask you about this, right? Because we're here on the Going Long podcast and we're about helping people feel comfortable and confident investing beyond their backyard. Don't necessarily know if I've asked someone this before, but what are some of the things that from a tax perspective, and by the way, everybody, and I forgot to mention this at the very beginning, like Larry's not giving anybody advice here. He is talking about concepts, examples, and it is important for you to take these concepts and examples, talk to them with your tax professional. And if you don't have a tax professional, I'm sure that Larry would be happy to talk to you more about the different types of things that he does. So please don't take any of this as advice, because it is not. And for those of you that are watching the video version, I'm going to suggest that you go look at what I don't even know where we are right now in the conversation, but there's this nice thing up over his left-hand shoulder, on your right-hand side of the screen that will make it very easy for you to contact him. Anyway, I'll leave that part there, and I'm sure he'll come back to that later on. But Larry, talk to us about that person that's living in one state and they're investing in multiple states, or they're thinking about investing in multiple states because they've been here listening to the Going Long podcast. They know that they can invest beyond their backyard as long as they have the right team and they have the right vision for themselves, et cetera, et cetera. But what are some things that we should keep in consideration if we're going to be investing beyond our backyard from one state to the next?
From a tax perspective, keep in mind that wherever the asset is, like if it's physically located in that other state, there will be tax filings related to that state. You're not going to run a business in someone's state and they're not getting a piece of the pie. So they want to eat as well. But also keep in mind that depending on the state that you're residing in, you will still be taxed on that income from that other state as well. And there's tax credits and all of that for if you're paying taxes in one state and then having to report in your resident state. But just be mindful that there are additional state filings when it comes to investing in that state. Also keep in mind that if you're partnering with someone in another state and you have a LLC together or any business together, then there will be filing requirements in the state that each of the general partners are residing in. Because think about it like this, the general premise is that, yes, like I don't live in that state, I'm partnering with that person, but there are management decisions being made by each of the partners. So that by itself gives that state, I'm talking very high level right now, that state is going to say like, you're making business decisions in our state. You are then operating a business out of our state. So we are due part of whatever income that's due to be taxed from this business, even though not all the partners are from that state. But like I say, you have to deal with that as well. So just being mindful of where your asset is, where your partners are, and may having to deal with additional state filings there. But like I said, that's par for course.
Okay, fantastic. Well, that's just once again, this is about being a much more informed investor so that you can make the most informed decision, the best informed decision based on the information, the context you have. So now that if you were not thinking about this aspect of tax and how it could potentially impact you, it's just another point of data to help you along with making an informed decision. Speaking of which, Larry, and as we get ready to get to the Going Long Final 3 here in a second, so you've talked about some of the things that we can be looking for, but maybe that person is still like, hey, listen, I've been working with my tax professional forever, and they seem to do an okay job. And now that I'm thinking about looking at new stuff like these big pieces of energy equipment or whatever, they're not really comfortable with this, right? And so what are some of the questions that you would say someone needs to ask or should ask to help understand if this next tax and or accounting professional is going to be a good fit for them in the situation that they're growing into, not necessarily the situation that they're currently in, because that person's already recognized they probably need to make some changes, but they don't really know what questions to ask a new tax professional. Maybe you could help us with some of the questions that they should be asking or things to think about.
Well, let's go back a step back further, where even going to your current tax person and asking, you mentioned before you're not really familiar with this stuff. Are you fine with me bringing in a consultant from it there?
Like that.
Because like I've done that where like, hey, I say, and this was kind of like early in my career where like I call it clients graduating from where I was at that time to having to go on, where it's like, well, it's just kind of best to kind of move, like you just kind of move in that direction. And that checks that. And I think your current advisor would appreciate that instead of you just ghosting them.
Like that.
And it gives them opportunity to check their ego at the door. As well, whereas like if someone's coming in, I'm not trying to take your client, they ask me to come in, here's what you need to be doing on this, and I'm out the door. Like, you still have your client, you still got a relationship. I mean, no, like it's all about ego's got to be checked at some point, especially if you hit your ceiling of the value that you provide to your client. So I think kind of going back and asking your current advisor, if you're limited here, are you cool with bringing an advisor? And we all just kind of work together from that standpoint there. It benefits everyone from that standpoint there. Both tax advisors getting paid, the clients getting their service that they're looking for, and they keep the relationship with the person that they have who already knows all their other stuff and don't have to do all this mass transition of all the older stuff to somebody new. So it's kind of starting off from that perspective. When you're talking with a new advisor, I know people like to get into like, hey, do you invest as well? And thinking that person has a bit of skin in the game per se, because they're also an investor. It could be a valid question, but it's really more so of, have you done taxes in these type of situations here? Because I know plenty of CPAs who are investing in different areas and they do not do the taxes in those areas because they're trying to phase out. This isn't a long ball game for a lot of us in the field. So it's like you want to be cautious on someone being in it versus if they're in it and have you done the actual tax work for it. So that's a very valid question to ask, especially real specific to what you're trying to do in your investment as well. Ask them about just different examples of how they were able to save taxes. Of course, they're not going to give you names and the numbers are pretty high level, but it's like, hey, can you tell me a time where you applied this strategy, or tell me about certain, like, you're trying to get some consulting in without getting because a lot of times these are free intro meetings that you're getting with somebody from that standpoint. Do you work with people from my state? Like, what's your, like, of course, response time, all that stuff, especially in this digital world. I'm rarely seeing any clients in person, and that's how we're able to operate in 23 states now. Because from that standpoint, have you dealt with IRS letters? Have you dealt with IRS audits? How did those turn out from that perspective? What caused those letters and audits? And can that person explain that at a 50,000 mile square high up explanation from that standpoint. So you want to kind of get an idea of how your risk is going to be mitigated from there, how frequently they can reach out to you to have consultation. Do they provide videos and all of that? That's kind of like icing on the cake type of stuff from there. But are they engaged with their clients over throughout the year and not just between tax filing season?
Not just in the last week of March. So
yeah, exactly.
No, so what I'm going to suggest is that you go back. Larry's giving you a number of different questions to ask and or things to think about. And one of the things I really appreciate about what you said, Larry, is the very first thing, which is speak to your existing tax professional. Give them the opportunity to, check their ego at the door, potentially create some collaboration so that you also don't lose the historical part of your tax filing as you start to build a team. And ultimately, at the end of the day, it's going to help you to also end that part of the relationship on a positive note. So I appreciate you sharing that with us. And the thing is, Larry, we got to get into the going long final three, man. We got to get there. And the thing is, I never ask anybody to go along final three. And today you're our special guest, unless you tell me that you're ready. So my question for you is, are you ready?
I'm always ready.
I love it. I'm always ready. I like that. All right, here we go. So question number one of the going long final three, we started with you over in this great state of Virginia. I'd like to bring things back to my new adopted side of the pond, which is over here in Europe. And I would love for you to share with us, Larry, what is your favorite European city that you have either visited or is still on your bucket list to visit?
I visited Florence, Italy. Like I said, we've done several cities. Me and Whitney, my wife, and because we're more like small town type of folks, like it gave that vibe. That we enjoy, little small restaurants, little hole in the walls type of stuff. Yep. Really enjoy that from there. So
all right, so we'll go with Florence. All right, I love that nice town, Florence, Italy. So fantastic. We'll include that in the show notes. And now it's time for question number two of the going long final three, Larry. And this is a question that it really has a lot to do with the good fortune that I've had, I would consider, right? Because I have been exposed to and have interacted with so many successful people from around the globe. And I consider you to be someone who's very successful. You are impacting, many lives, thousands of lives. You talked about 23 different states, and that's just on the business front, much less all the other stuff you're doing. But one of the things that I've noticed as a pattern from people that are really successful, Larry, and hopefully you'll agree with me here, is one of the things that makes really successful people extremely successful is usually when they go out and they put together a plan, then they go out and they execute against that plan. They get everything right the first time, which is what allows them to go out and do even more, even faster.
You okay there? I was like, this guy called the Holy Ghost. Like, he's like, oh my God, what's happening? Like, should I say something?
Did he just go off key? What just happened here? Hey, everybody, if the earlier what I said was over Larry's left shoulder didn't get you, you definitely need to catch the video version because his face was like, what just happened? Oh, sorry, man. It's just a little comic relief. I like to have fun, man. I like to have fun here. So here's the thing, Larry. That was partly a joke, right? That was not real. You're like, oh my gosh, what happened to you, man? So here's the thing, Larry. Of course, really successful people don't get things right the first time and execute it perfectly. Like that would be, maybe it happens every once in a while, but the reality is people that are really successful, and probably an unknown fact is they have a lot more mistakes or have these failure events a lot more than most people, like literally 20 to 50 times more than most people because they're trying new things all the time. But this is no joke. This is serious. One of the things that I have noticed about people that are very successful is every single time there is a relevant failure event, mistake, learning opportunity, call it whatever you want to call it, Larry. Every single time they stop, they learn from the mistake, and then they put different strategies, tactics, and actions in place to minimize the probability of that exact same thing happening again. So now, I don't want you to think about the mistake that you made, but I'm more interested in you sharing with us what was the lesson that you learned from that you know the Going Long family needs to hear today. What's that one lesson you want to share with us?
It's really more of knowing where you add value. Like, what is your strength? Like, truly focusing on your strength. Like, the two major failures that I can think of is all related to me trying to take on more, focusing more on the money aspect of it. Like, if I do this, I can save here and here, and it's like I missed the goal of you have to accomplish. What's the real goal of accomplishment? If you start focusing on the money aspect of it, you're going to trip yourself more. Whereas, like, I'm more so much focused on, okay, here's my strength, here's where I add value, and then can I build the teams around me, like-minded individuals, whatever cliche term you want to say, people that are good at what they do in order to accomplish something great. I have no doubt that you have all the right great people on the team thinking the same thing, and or the goal in place, that like that goal is going to be accomplished in an awesome way. So from the major mistakes, the two that's in my mind right now, what I got from those was like, okay, when I'm facing a similar situation, okay, do I got someone to cover these things here? I got this piece covered, and then can I basically connect with them in order to accomplish the goal on this investment or on this business opportunity, and build and grow from there. And so I can now focus on the next thing that I can add value to.
Absolutely love that. So really focusing on your strengths, allowing others to focus on their strengths, so ultimately you can move forward faster together. So absolutely love that. And, Larry, I can't believe, like, we got to get into the question number 3 of the Going Long Final 3. And this one's also really easy. All these are easy for you. What is the one book that you would recommend to the Going Long family today?
I mentioned it earlier, and I know even Whitney's sick of me talking about it. Is Dan Sullivan's Who Not How. Yeah. Like from the beginning to the end of the book, like, I was hooked on it, especially when they, like, part of it is like, if your goal can be accomplished by yourself, your goal is too small. And I'm paraphrasing from what was said in the book, but like, it was like, damn, like that's true. Like, you taking limited risk because you don't want to do something bigger. Yeah. And if my goal is to help as many people as possible achieve financial freedom through real estate and taxes, I'll be limited to how many people that I can do from that. Like, if I wanted to do it from a great scale, that means connecting with others that are doing podcasts and all of that, and writing books and teaching at different events. So it's like, okay, like, let's expand. Let's take the lessons from this book and then expand and grow. And that even applies to the previous question of just connecting with the right people as well, and letting them focus on what they do great, and just find the right who's for you to fulfill your mission in life.
I love it, man. Who Not How, another one for Dan Sullivan. Everybody, don't worry. There's going to be a link you can click. You can check it out. It'll be really, really easy to go there. But Larry, man, these conversations fly by way too fast. I'm thinking about the beginning of the conversation. You're talking about your dad, watching him work more hours in his HVAC company. And you realize that at that point in time, like, you wanted to figure out a way that you could add value to your dad. And so it wasn't about the money. It was about how you could help him. And then you realize, how can I scale this? How can I help more people? And so you didn't want to have him pay for college. So you were able to go out and you played your sports in high school and college, and that helped you to move in the right direction. And William and Mary, as you talked about, and you got the insight that you were looking for, so that not only could you go back and help dad, but also help other small business owners. You got your big corporate experience. You saw what that was like, but you realized that, hey, listen, this is great, but this is just big companies. I want to be able to help the small business owner. I want to be able to help the investor who is looking to gain more access to their personal freedom and being able to do that. And so now you've been able to find that niche where you can go out and you can help others that are looking to include the not just investing in real estate, but also being able to do that from a knowledge base and having the right person on the team that can help not just from a preparation standpoint, but more importantly, from a planning and advisory capacity. And everybody's listening to me. They're going, yeah, Billy, but just ask him the question, man. And so listen, you already pointed to it earlier. I'm not going to let everybody know unless you're watching the video version, and you should be watching the video version. Help us understand, Larry, what is the best way for the Going Long family to contact you and learn more about what you're doing as a senior partner at PC Financial Services?
Yeah, this is great. Appreciate the opportunity here. Yeah, I'm pretty sure in the show notes they'll have the link to my page. It'll have my email and contact information there. If you are watching the video, there is a QR code over my left shoulder that you can scan. That will take you directly to my page as well. And like I said, you can book an intro meeting, you can book consultation, you can hear other recordings that I've been on, different investment groups that I'm in. You can kind of see the gamut of different things that I'm involved with. And then, yeah, looking forward to connecting with whoever wants to reach out and build from here.
All right, fantastic. And listen, everybody, when you reach out to Larry, especially if you do this on LinkedIn, because I know he's also very active over there, make sure you send him a personalized invitation so he already knows that you have invested time to get to know him, know more about his story, and it's going to make that intro call when you eventually take that link. It's going to make it much easier and much more productive for the two of you. So listen, Larry, I just want to say thank you very much on behalf of the entire Going Long family. It's been a pleasure. And thank you so much for investing your time with us today.
Appreciate it, Billy.
All right. Listen, Larry, give me just a couple seconds. I'm going to wrap things up for the Going Long family, and then I'll get you out of here. So, hey, listen, family, I don't know what to tell you. Larry just left it all here. He talked about how his goal and desire to be able to learn more, how he is in that tax as well as accounting profession, and being able to not just help with advisory, but also have that member of your team that can help you to navigate so that ultimately you can get to the goals that you want to get to much faster. Go back, listen to the questions that he talked to you about asking and the strategies that he talked to you about. But most importantly, take today's conversation, share it with your family, with your friends, go from the theory to the knowledge, and heck, take him up on the offer. Reach out to him, connect with him. If you see that QR code, do that there. And while you're doing that, I'll be here preparing for the next conversation. So until then, go out and make it a great day. And thank you very much. Trust that you enjoyed today's conversation. And once again, today's conversation was sponsored by First Generation Capital Partners. If you're an accredited investor and want to find out more about how we're helping accredited investors to gain their personal freedom even faster, go to firstgencp.com/going long.